a brand new day, and we'll be making history. Are you with me? Won't you stay? We have come so far. This is who we are. And like the rising sun, we have just begun to play our part. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on one another. Feel the pride, let's show our colors. We are heroes and dreamers. We are restless believers.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. This is Gail of Gaia, and this is Free Range, where we graze on wild ideas. And I have a returning guest with me today, and that is Jenny Lee. And we're going to talk about things about Jenny that you probably don't know. She does a lot of things that will surprise you, and she's very good at it. So hang on. Hi, Jenny.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great. I'm so excited about what we're going to talk about today. I think it's so important because you play a very important role in this by helping find missing people,
Right.
persons, child. You probably get some intel or info on that you see on from remote viewing on child trafficking and things of that nature. And you work with the White Hats or the Alliance or
Well, what happens when I don't seek any clients, they come to me. So it's always them contacting me. So, and there's certain societies act like they're something, and then you figure out down the road they're a different society. But they test you too on this situation. So,
what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? Explain that. How do they test you? What kind of
remote viewings, you got to be good to get paid correctly. And if you're a bad remote viewer, it's just not going to work for you. So that's the thing. So I started with a case. One of my husband's friends, a friend of their family's disappeared, and I was like, oh, I don't want it. Because you resist wanting the information.
Because it could be bad information, huh?
Yeah. So, and when I started that, when you're in that mode, everything pours out. And that case came to a point that she was murdered, and that's what I saw. And I think with me trying to have a normal life, and not wanting to choose remote viewing was impossible because I did safety for construction, and each job I would go to, everything I would work on, try to get anything done. My boss got to the point, he says, if I see another spirit in the picture, and there were tons everywhere, and they kept telling me, they're like, you're gonna do this work. And so I would just blurt out situations for cases, and then he would come in and say, okay, what you said 5 days ago is in the paper now, what you explained about this case, how do you know this? So sometimes you don't get a choice. Sometimes it's repeated over and over, and it's like a nagging sometimes with them. So when you get to the point that you accept what you need to do, then everything kind of flows. So it started flowing pretty fast. So I wasn't trained by any society or any program. I was just doing what Spirit told me to do.
And you're basically self-taught, I would say, too, right?
On everything.
Yeah. On everything. Yeah. It's amazing. People that sometimes they're, I don't know. Some of us others have been programmed by the academic world, and a lot of times it just isn't what it should be. I mean,
exactly.
So
So that became a normal process with me, seeing it all the time. I can't drive by it without picking everything up. But I didn't realize how accurate it was until you really put it in black and white and you're seeing it unfold. Um, and I've worked on some big cases. Abby and Libby, um, that case, Chance Hilgerberg's case. And so for Abby and Libby's case, German, uh, that's they finally have apprehended the killer. And I did a drawing, was a dry sketch of uh, the murderer, one of the murderers, and before even the cops came out with one, and then 8 months later, they came out with one. They're like, well, that's the same drawing Jen did already. So I draw the murderers before it's even handed to the cops. I hand it over to the family. So I just got into the process of drawing them, what I saw, and then applying it to where it needed to go. So on that case, it was 8 or 9 months before the cops even put a sketch together. Then just recently, they caught one of the murderers, because there's 3 total. There's not one. And he's in jail. He's under investigation, all that stuff. And so every detail that I see in the image, I apply. You put it together. So this stuff.
Oh, you drew that?
This is from an app, but I draw ones freehand, and I draw them this way. So I had it in your Facebook where they were talking about that case. But anyway, the thing is
I didn't get to see that.
When I do the remote viewing, I get the image of the person, so I start drawing the person. And then I do the remote viewing of the information, the target, the level, the area that they're at, all it. So that's how Spirit taught me. And then you look at things in levels, and lower level, mid-level, high level. And so I just wait for all that information, that documentation, to add up to the case. Okay. So, and I'm patient with that, and the normal people that, they want the information, they want it now. I'm very good with timing and knowing when it's going to come out or when it's going to be revealed. I was a little short on this case because I said it would be under 3 years, and it was longer. But one of my biggest issues with these cases is actually the police departments.
Imagine that.
And it's just because, and that's a big one, is Chance Engelberg's case. The cops are crooked across the board on that case. And
many others, I'm sorry to say.
Oh, and many others. I mean, I've had cases just here on the reservation. We had consistent girls missing, Native girls. There was probably 3 or 4.
I heard those.
And I did a remote viewing, Melissa Eagleshield, and about these trailers and all these items in the trailer. And I had a mother call me. She goes, all that stuff that you're talking about, we found at another murder case. And
wow.
I could have told you that everything that you've ever thought could be at a murder case was there. They had bandsaws. They had wired beds up. They had things where you strip them and hang them out. There's bones everywhere. And what happened was the BCA, I called them up, and they're like, well, what FBI agent are you talking to? And I go, it doesn't matter. Why aren't you guys over there? The next day, they burnt the trailer down. So it just shows you how much that is my biggest problem, is this corruption that happens all the time.
It's everywhere, isn't it? It's in
and
every
it is everywhere.
department.
It's everywhere. It's you know what it is? It's part of the bottom pyramid that needs to be cleared out. the Masons. So that's the thing about it, and I also did a case of a native woman that was pregnant, and I gave them the location, the cops the location. They raced out there, and they did find her body in that location. And I went to sleep, and it was the drawing that I did the next day was the scene of the bridge was on top of the newspaper.
Wow. Somebody says, good Lord, how do you keep your sanity, Jenny?
Well, the thing is, it's you. This is the thing. It's not about you. You need to give the information out. It's not personal. It is about being a conduit to give information out. And that's the thing. I mean, on some of these cases, I've done cases where I had a woman and her mom wanted nothing to do with her. And she's like, I need to find my father. And she goes, I need to know if he's alive or dead. And I go, he is alive. And I described where I thought he lived and everything. And she was in Minnesota, and she found him in North Carolina. And she goes, I found him. Like you said, he was in the military. He's retired. And they have a relationship now. So you got to understand, it's a target. And the more raw the target is that you have a sight on or a vision on, that rawness is usually the most accurate information, Mm-hmm. So it's not something that I'm looking at because I work on cases after cases. You see all those files, cases after cases, that you're just going. You keep going. And then I've done fraud cases. And the fraud cases are usually corporations that are missing money. And I've had 2 of those in the past 3 years. And express and do a remote viewing, telling them how to see where the money's missing, and they find it, they get the documentation, and each one of those situations they confronted the person, and the person admitted it because it's in front of them, black and white. They both, in both cases, went to jail. So, so
there must have been a significant amount of money.
One was $1 million. The other one was pretty up there too. I mean, I think in those situations, the criminals in their own mindset think they're owed it in some way, some crazy way. They're like, well, I've done this work, so I deserve this. So they talk themselves into thinking, I need this. I need to have this. I deserve this. But at the end, it's not a good thing because it ends up in a bad situation.
And the price to pay is quite high, I assume.
Right. And so that's the difference is why I tell people when you're hiring a remote viewer or get involved in remote viewing, you want to see the documentations that follows everything. Through a lot of stuff. And I've done a situation, and I had to learn on my own who to trust and who not, especially when all this big trafficking was going on. We had, 3 years ago that was just everybody was getting involved in everything. And they wanted me to look off planet for a certain ship. And then I gave them the information, and what they were saying, what Spirit was saying was it was prime children. Prime. It was like the good stuff. And then in some way, when they don't always admit when you're verified, you kind of see it through the media, and they kind of will give you a nay or a yay, and then they come back and ask you to do some more projects. So yeah, it was Pacific on that, and then also Pacific on the fact that they were talking about a clones facility in China, and it was this Walmart of the process, and I describe it to the T, all that stuff too.
Walmart in China?
It's like a Walmart.
Oh, it's like a Walmart
facility.
Oh, I see. Oh, my word. Okay.
Every avenue of going in through river, going in through submarine, going in through helicopter, being able to bring that in and out of that country, and describing everything. so then the some of the targets changed in what I would get, and when that's how I started doing some other stuff, that's off world, because it was consistent with remote viewers. That the information has to be consistent. The information has to back up target the information.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's the
Is,
thing about it.
is this what's
So
going on? Is that what's going on?
is
Blood
what?
and organ harvesting and blood harvesting? That's what somebody's asking.
Yes.
Yes.
And they're desperate, and when they get desperate, they do more desperate attempts, and that's why right now, if you think about it, it's getting harder to kidnap children with cameras, with people are paying attention, and then they get more desperate, so they're doing more desperate attempts. I mean, in the back of those stores are supermarkets and Target and all that stuff. They're finding ways to keep young girls, they'll put money on their windshield, they'll put stuff on their doorknobs, anything they can to get them tracked, because in desperate measures, that's what they do. So you have to be aware and alert of what they're doing in trafficking. And the thing is, I've been doing this for a while, and then when the shepherd was in office, then everybody really paid attention what was going on. But I mean, it's what you see on the news is completely different from what you deal with the families. I think it's harder for the families. What I've seen and what I've felt is when they can't get closure. They have to wake up every day and feel that pain, and go to bed every night and feel the pain. And that's the hardest thing I've seen. It's not knowing if you can bury your son or daughter. They don't know where they are. And that's the hard thing that drives you to do this more and more and more. And
Yeah, it's got to be heartbreaking.
It's a field that a lot of the percentage of psychics and mediums, they don't want to do, because they don't want to be wrong. They don't want to screw it up. When they deal with cases and stuff like that, it's not a mediumship situation. It is, you're going in for the environment of the target, describing target areas. And if you add emotion into that, you're going to be wrong, because your target information has to be accurate, and you can't be emotional in going after the target. And that's the same thing as when I do, I think one of the funniest ones I do is wills. If someone has passed on, they didn't leave a will, the family sits down and they're like, there's all this, and I'm sitting in between negotiating. That's where a medium would be, better than a remote viewer, because they're getting the information from the other side to describe where things go.
Oh,
And
wow.
I do that too, but it's funny because you're on both ends. They're arguing, the spirit side and then the living. And then there's stuff that the living completely forget about, and I have to tell them where it is, and they go find it, and they're like, oh yeah, it was there. Guns, money, cars, all kinds of stuff. Because when you're dealing with death, we're not some people are not thinking about all the items, and you're talking years and years and years of accumulation. They don't know where everything is. I mean, that's a important part of this thing. So with cases, I've been doing it for so long. It's like this. It's backed up. I have so much going that I'll wait 2 or 3 years before cases are solved, and then it'll just come in, and then you just verify the information. I've gotten cases turned around. I've gotten cases where we had one 3 years ago. The sister called me and she goes, they're saying that he killed himself, was her brother. And I go, he's murdered. And then someone took his truck, and it was actually his roommate. And I said, you'll find him on the highway, but he'll never surrender. He'll kill himself first. And that's what happened. They pulled the guy over in the truck, and he killed himself right there. And they reversed the conviction to murder. But you have to push the cops. You basically have to make them look like an ass. Say, hey, pretty evident that this has happened, and then get it overturned. So I've done A couple of those cases
Wow.
putting that evidence out like that. And so, it's just a subject that I don't talk about with you or anybody because a lot of it's serious information, and then I deal with remote viewing for minerals, for gold, for silver. I'm working on a treasure one now. I mean, that's the thing about it. Your instinct is trusting what you perceive, and that's sitting in front of you. So I believe that remote viewing is unlimited. It doesn't matter. As if you have that technique down and you can get to that target, you can perceive it anywhere. And that's what I teach my students too,
Do you
So
have, there's a question here, Dot Connector wanted to ask you, does this put you in danger, or do your guides or spirit protect you? Are you?
let me tell you, I did a case in Montana when I was living there, and they and I do that with several cases when I need to go on a drive. I don't want to, but when I feel like I need to, I was getting a case that they had over a sand pile area. It was over by the river of Yellowstone, and like, this isn't the area. You got to go, and they literally direct you, go down this road, go left, go right, or whatever. And I did that. And then we get down there and there's a dead end, but I'm seeing the whole landscape, and I'm seeing everything, and it's getting darker. And I had a friend with me. She's very blonde hair and everything. And so we turn around, look at the property, and I knew right then, I was like, this is where she's at. This is dead on. It fed all the environments, everything that matched up. So we turn around, and all of a sudden I see this big truck pull out of the driveway and go down about 2 blocks, turn back around, and they grab guns, and they're in the back of the truck. So I'm sitting there going, now, Spirit, what are we supposed to do now? Because this doesn't look good. We have 3 or 4 men coming in our direction with guns. And we did just get ice cream. And I just told my friend, I said, I need you to act so blonde right now that you don't know what you're doing or where you're going. So she sat there.
Most blondes aren't real blondes anyway.
and licked her ice cream, and they came by very slowly. And they went back in, and we drove down the highway, and I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing? It was, I've been in those situations. So yeah, there's been a couple of those situations. And another one was a local, area too, for another gal that was murdered by a lake. And I ended up on a property that looked like Deliverance, a bunch of freezers, and going, I don't know if we're going to make it out of here.
Oh my God.
So the need to solve the case is just bigger than anything, it's just something that goes beyond you. So I've been in several of those situations before. But I mean, to see relief in those families when the case is solved, or they can go home, or they can sleep, or they can have closure, that's the value in this. And I thought a couple of years ago, I'm thinking, well, I should just quit and just be done. But the thing is, for me to retire and be done, I have to have someone to take over. And it's not easy.
No.
So, and that's the thing about it, is you're trusting this qualification that you have inside to see and visualize everything and relay the information out. And sometimes I do cases. I had a mother, she called me up. She says, they're saying my son hung himself. And I was like, no. And then I saw 4 or 5 murderers at a party, is a drug party, all this stuff. And they try to hang him from a low branch tree. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. So I did the drawings of 4 or 5 people for, and they have convicted all of these people. And I gave that before the police even had all this.
Wow.
So I just go into the details. It's the same thing as the alien stuff and the way the ships look and all that stuff I do. It's just go into details of information.
I didn't realize you did all this.
Well, yeah, and it's just something you just don't always talk about.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You don't, because this is a serious subject, and so is everything else that I do. But this is more private too on this situation.
For the family's sake and so on.
Yeah. So this one, they finally got them all, and they're on getting ready to be convicted.
Wow. That's fascinating. What about, have you ever had the reward of finding a lost or missing child?
Yeah. Many times.
Many times.
We many years back, a friend called me. She goes, they got a Down syndrome boy they can't find. And she was a kind of a very arrogant and remote viewer. And I go, why are you calling me? And she goes, I just can't pick this one up. So we found him. I said, he's under a trailer hiding. And the following morning, that's where they found him. Alive.
Wow. Wow.
There's a lot of cases that end up good, but there's a big percentage, especially if you don't get them within 24 hours. It doesn't look good. There's a case in Colorado, Jessica, and I can't remember her last name. This is probably about 10 years ago. And her and her mother, she walked home to a park in Colorado, and they showed me that he dismantled her so badly. But it was weird because I turned the information over, and they were showing me it's a tri-level home. In the back there was a cooler. It was a child. She wasn't that old. Mother didn't have another child. And the houses next door, I kept seeing them the way they were designed, and her house that she was in was completely different from the other two, and I saw the design. And but this guy was studying to be a mortician, was really into that stuff, and they killed this girl, and they did convict him. And I think it's right by Denver. So I mean, yeah, I mean, and people don't understand when you're working on missing persons case and stuff. We sleep when we can. So when we're on a case, it's pretty intense on certain things. So I mean, those are just some examples of things. And I did another case in Montana. You do say no sometimes. You do try to say no. And I try to go buy things for myself that day, carpet, shopping, and everywhere I'd go, I would see a native Indian. And the carpet was the color of the baby's blanket. I was just like, they're not going to let me walk away from this, and that's how it is. It's not an easy thing to handle, to deal with.
Thank goodness you do, though. I'm
yeah,
really, because who else would at this point in time?
Right. And so and sometimes I do find stuff for people that are looking for stuff in the land for a while, but I do also tell them what I feel about it. I'm like, I think if you keep this isn't going to be good. And people are like, yeah. But then I tell them, I'm going to be honest, if you keep this and turn this in, you're going to have cancer in the next couple of years. And that guy called me. He goes, you were right. I shouldn't have done it. Because certain things that...
What was it?
Well, I get a lot of treasure hunters that contact me for stuff like that. And some of that stuff, people don't understand that spirit that was tracking that down and that other spirit that was tracking it down, just because you're in the flesh doesn't mean it's yours, and there's always a sacrifice for, in some way, if you think you can contain and hold that. I did one in New Hampshire, I've done some unusual stuff looking at this stuff. And I did another one. It was in California for development of land. And a certain corporation wanted the land. And then Spirit told me this is how they can get out of it. And they applied it, and they were able to keep their lands. So you just never know the
Oh, that's
situation.
cool.
Yeah, it's different on every time.
Someone is asking, what's the percentage of some of the, what type of sacrifices? What is a lot of the children or people you find a result of ritual?
Unless they're, especially the ones foster care system, because they're not, they
Isn't
just
that
seem like they're
pathetic?
thrown through the system.
They take them away from the original family, give them to someone else who's going to then
Right.
traffic them.
Right.
It's just horrible.
And your humans in the conscience of empathy don't understand until you're in front of, you're looking at something that's a monster that has no empathy, does not care, and looks at it as an item. There is no reasoning of thinking, crying your way through something that it's going to work. At that point, survival is the key, because begging's not going to do it.
They could care less.
They could care less, and they don't. I mean, society has trained.
They're not even human, half of them.
Society has trained your kids that there's some sympathy or empathy towards these criminals. There's not. There's not. They need to teach the fact that this is about survival, and the odds are of him releasing you is not going to happen. So you have to get in a survival mode, and we don't do that. We don't teach them that. I inbred that into my kids every day because I saw it so much. And I mean, this is what I'm going to tell you something. If you see the media pushing a agenda of a child missing, there's a reason behind that, because these days at this time, they do not care whether your child is missing. The media always has a program behind it, an agenda. Because and I've seen it every time. There's so many cases, they get dismissed, and I tell them the only way that these are going to get solved is you have to keep them in the media. You got to keep it circulating. You got to keep it going, because if it dies down, the cops aren't good, it's going to die down. It's going to be a cold case. I've worked on cold cases too. I did one that was 25 years old, and with another remote viewer. And the thing was, because the person that went missing was not attractive, she's just a normal looking person, it didn't, people didn't put energy behind it. I did a remote viewing. I did a remote viewing on that, and her husband, another lady, and her husband's friend, and they murdered her. And for a long time, it was hidden on another person's land, and I think they found other bodies on there too. And her name is Patty. And I knew. I said, if they get him to jail, he'll kill himself, because he'll never confess. But I said, if you get to the female, she'll talk. And that's what happened. The female talked. So these cold cases, it's actually about luck. Luck of the draw of the cop, luck of the draw of the situation, luck of the draw of the happenstance situation. Now we have cameras, and that's the good alternative, that you can see that, perceive that. If the city's a clean city, clean cops that are working in there.
That's hard to find.
Gamble every time.
Especially in Maricopa County. Sorry, I had to throw that in there. Anyway, somebody's asking, does Jenny remote view when she finds missing people? Does she need to hold?
No.
I need to see or hold something the person owns.
No, I don't even need to go there. I don't need to hold anything. I just need the first visual. And this is the thing about remote viewing. You do not you want to take just the basic information, just like the cops have, and that's it. You don't want to go out and get on the media and look at that stuff, because you're getting this stuff from a raw process of a remote viewing, and you want to stay in that right brain information. If you allow the left brain to feed an idea, you're going to be incorrect. And
Oh,
so
wow.
all
I
I
see what
do
you're
is
saying.
just take some basic information, and then I apply that to the target with the
Wow.
situation.
Uh-huh.
So, and that's the thing. I mean, that's where you go back to that medium stuff again. They're out there walking around, smelling stuff. And the thing is, they'll get one or two items, but they don't stay on a consistent pattern of information. So I can lead
Hmm.
off in remote viewing and stop at one phase. I have 4 pages of. Okay.
Up in there.
Okay. I can lead off with uh, 4 pages of report of information on it, and then I can stop at that phase and then always come back and visit those areas and keep going on. I did another case in Hawaii, um, and I drew 3 killers. His name was Gary, and they they pretty much had figured that those 3 were involved, and I think they were on the trail of getting that prosecuted. So there's been many, but it's the whole holdup. The holdup is your police departments that are getting paid to shut up or throw evidence away is a problem too,
Hmm.
and that is a headache. And
They,
it's and then not wanting to put effort into it.
why
You
would
know,
they throw? Why would they throw evidence away? For what purpose? Or that
trafficking.
sounds. Oh, okay.
Most of the
Just
native,
explain it to people.
most of the native reservations and everything, that is about trafficking. I mean, if I could say the percentage of when, and I actually, for native cases, I try to give them, like, almost do it for free, because I just feel so bad with them because they get the shaft end of everything. And the cops on the reservation don't care. The state of which the state you're in don't care, and they just get no limelight. They don't get closure in a lot of this stuff. You know, it's wrong. So I mean, there's just a lot of things like this. These targets and other things take over the media, and they really push missing persons aside. When you had it back on a carton of milk, you was in front of your face.
Yeah. What? Yeah.
They stopped doing that. You know, if you look around, it's not the only way you're going to see it is on the street. A parent pushing those posters, or a business will allow that to be posted up there. You're not seeing it on the news at the bottom anymore. You're not seeing it on their
Wow.
station. You're not seeing it on the pages or anything. You know, if I had the time, I would just give a whole dedication to one website of having that. But they don't put their time and energy into that, because sharing it could save a life. And being in the same area, and having an app these days that goes out immediately in the areas where they were missing. But no.
Hmm. So in Maui, Hawaii, someone's making the comment that many go missing and very little is done to look for them. And then Sage, apparently she does, she's in our listening audience too, and she apparently does remote viewing and finding people as well. And she's just like agreeing with you on some of the things that you're saying.
Yeah,
She also
it's
she also says she tries not to have any emotion at all and just, get the information. I think she said that somewhere. I may have lost it now, but
Yeah, you have to be just the information of the tool to give the information. You can't be connected to it at all. You have to be in a middle phase of things with the
yeah.
situation.
Somebody's asking, somebody wants to find out if their baby sister was murdered or a blazing fire a true accident.
They would have to contact me and I would have to look at it.
So okay, let's say I had something that happened and I wanted your help. What exactly would you need from me?
Usually you just start with a picture and basic information and that's it. That is all.
Okay.
And then and that has to do with items. That has to do with things missing. I mean, I get exact coordinates sometimes just for rings and wallets and cell phones. They're telling me go left, turn right, and then it's there.
Wow.
So, and it has to do just the way I hear things, adapt to things and all that stuff. I get these deep sea diving corporations that are looking for stuff. They call me too.
Wow.
Because they want to be they want to be in the area. But like I said, with treasures, I'm like, there's a energy around that. You better check behind the past ones that have been looking for that. There's some karma with it. So you got to be careful with the
Wow.
situation.
Okay. Are some of these perpetrators non-human, clones, droids, NPCs, whatever, or empty containers? Some people say.
Yes, they are. And they don't care. They literally look at children like the way we look at cockroaches sometimes. And I'm being serious.
Oh my God.
It's bad. They don't care.
That just sent chills all over my body. I don't like that at all.
Well, it's true.
Yeah, I know.
Because
It's that bad. It's
and not
so
only
much.
that, it's the way with
Yeah.
the trafficking works. You have to understand that sometimes these parents are selling their children, and people don't want to think that that's happening in America, but it is. But you're not going to hear it on the news. They're not
That's
going to talk about that. What's going on?
That is
We've
what
gone
is the
to
biggest problem. Do you see any?
society.
Do you see any change
Society.
in that? Do you see any change in that coming in the future, where people will actually be given the truth in the mass media? Is that
Well,
possible?
this is what I've been telling everybody. When they unplug CNN, when they unplug Fox News, those are not coming back. You are not going to get real news coming on those channels. They're going to unplug them and there's going to be new ones. They're just not going to be there.
So they're not going to go under new management or anything like that.
No, they're going to be annihilated and you'll see new directed sources to go and access that information.
This is terrible. Sage is agreeing with you too about a lot are selling their children. It's amazing that they would do that. I can't imagine.
And so the hard thing is just you feel responsible, and this is with the cases, you hold them until they're done. You don't open doors you can't shut. And one thing I don't do, and is when I know that a child has passed on, a loved one has passed on, I do not tell them. I let them get to a process of healing that they too usually tell me, I know they're dead. Do you understand? Then you can confirm, but you don't take their hope away. There's an ethic of doing this the proper way for the family to heal too, because they have to go through a long process of that loved one not being there, or their daughter taken away, or killed or murdered. So, and that's the thing. This is a responsibility to help them, lead them in the right direction, but also help them heal in a process too. Because, we're talking, because I did a video on alcohol and all that stuff, and that leads to when you're just sitting in the pain of that suffering. And you would know nothing to do. You don't have nothing to do. You can't function. You're just in that odd place, and everybody goes away. On these missing persons cases, they don't know what to do. They've tried. They looked over every rock, every highway.
They just give
And then
up.
they give up, but then the parents have to sit in that, and it's a hard
No
process
closure. Yeah, that's horrible. Really
to
is.
go through.
Someone's asking how many people are normal humans with empathy and normal feeling. I don't know if you would know that, but maybe
Well,
a
I'm going to tell
guesstimate
you lately.
from spirit.
Well, this is the thing. I believe there's less humans on this planet than we're realizing. There's more programs and there's more clones, and once they realize it, that percentage has changed.
Which percentage? The clones or the number of humans?
Well,
Or both?
I'd say clones and programs are in a big
Happy.
percentage across from humans when they decide. I always get 35% humans, 35% programs. That's a pretty big percentage. Clones is a big percentage. You got to understand how long we've been doing this. Not everybody you're looking at, not everybody you're seeing is human.
How can people tell? How would they know?
Well, I mean, I know because I can feel it, and that's the instinct. And the biggest thing is you cannot sense a soul there at all. And you can't sense empathy and the biggest one is animals. God, they're good at sensing that.
Oh, animals. Oh, yeah. Your
Oh
dog,
yeah,
your
they're very
cat,
good.
whatever. They get it right. They pick up on an
They
evil
get it up
person
quick.
like that. Yeah.
But I
They
mean, it's
do.
really there's no light in them. It's darkness. It's dark programming. It's dark words. It's everything's about leading you to a trap. It's not giving you the free will, giving you a choice of A and B. It's a choice of this is the only choice. And that's the thing. I mean, you have to look at it in a way of humans get all confused with this outer shell. And because it looks good, you
It's
must
good.
be able to trust it.
Yeah, and if it's in a
But I tell
three-piece
people,
suit
I
and
look
looks all
inside first, and that will keep you safe. The outside persona is very, very, very demonic sometimes.
Wow. What about, do you see it in their eyes as well? Or is it just the
Well,
energy that distorted?
if it's actually there, as in if they
How do I see it?
have empathy. But I've seen some programs. I tell you, I was doing an event and I knew this one was reptilian. I was like, geez. So they twitch. They do a lot of twitching. People don't understand that they twitch a lot. And then he wanted to force a book onto me. I was like, no, I'm not going to read that. I go, why are you here? I was told to come. Well, state your business, but he kept doing this stuff, and then he was jerking. You could never look at his eyes. It was just, he was like uncomfortable being in his own skin. It was freaky.
Do you remember that one? Well, maybe you haven't seen it, but there was a picture one time of Hillary, and it was like she was malfunctioning, and she was going like
That jerk. That's what it was like. He was doing that, and I was like, you can't look at him
I'm
in the
going,
eyes. You
whoa.
can't look at him in the eyes. He won't let you. And that's the thing. I mean, here's the biggest lie that you're getting right now. Dark Fleet, the fake Galaxy Federation Dark Fleet, they're selling a persona that these aliens look like humans. They don't. They don't look like humans at all. Not whatsoever.
None of them? What about Pleiadians? No?
Well, Pleiadians do, but they're taller beings.
Mm-hmm.
But every time I go up there, I'm like, oh, hair? Oh, you don't need hair. Okay, well, I understand. I don't see any hair.
It's a lot of work anyway.
They're not no Fabios or attractive looking. They're not male or female. It's not a sexual thing
buff,
either. You
right?
don't think of having these fantasies about aliens. It's just, it's just ridiculous. That's a human mindset, because they'd be like, oh God, stop. But anyway, they don't look like that. So, and their conscious state is not in a human concept at all. You know, they're beyond those needs, those flesh needs, the alcohol, the drugs, the sexual stuff. They're beyond that. You know, these ones are higher conscience. You know, it's just that's what you want to deal with. You know, taking a character and turning it into an alien and making it something from Hollywood's not going to pan out, and it's not going to sit in front of you ever. So society is just getting a Hollywood trip with that society, but everybody's starting to see that.
Yeah, more and more truth is coming out. Would you agree with these? These figures came from Alex Collier, and they're talking about the breakdown or the percentages of where people are at, people on the planet in general. And I don't know if this would apply to everyone, including the ones that are non-human or what. But anyway, they say that there's about 17% that are actually working in 5D construct, 41% in 4D, 25% still stuck in 3D, and 12% stuck even more in 2D. Now, I don't know.
I would say those are pretty accurate, actually. Those are pretty accurate.
Close. I mean, it's just a guesstimate anyway. I mean, you can't be.
Yeah, but those are pretty accurate.
Oh, that's interesting. I thought people might like to know that.
I would definitely say that.
Okay. Here's a question too. Now, I'm not familiar with all these, if these are child actors or whatever. Kids like Michael Vaughn, Summer Wells, Daniel Robinson, all these folks and so many more are just gone. How can we help them?
You can't. Until they're at a point that they want to accept the information, or they want to accept that there's something wrong. And that's where spirit goes back. It's back to the limited veil of understanding. Not everybody's at the same veil of understanding. Not everybody's at the same conscience. And you can't force something into a conscience that doesn't want it. It sees it at its level. And it's like, no, that's not at my level. That's not at my understanding. And I'm not accepting it. Like today, I did a post on somebody who was a sloshing drunk. And in her own words, and this I'd call him a person who's like, well, that's very negative to say. And I'm going, but those are her words, and those came from her mouth. And how am I negative when I didn't write it? She did. You know what I'm saying? Their concept of seeing things the way they want to see them, they take this illusion and make things there. Do you understand?
They create it if
yes,
it's
they
not
create it. But when you bring in a reality of the truth, they're like, no, you're just negative, right? And that's a liberal concept. So the thing is I'm telling people that even when the TVs come on and they show this broadcasting, they're still going to be in denial. They're going to go into their houses, they're going to go into their rooms, and they're saying, don't you talk about it, don't you bring up that subject, blah, 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 blah. Only the ones that fall to the ground and on their knees and crying in confusion, those are the ones that probably are ready to listen. But those ones that are narcissistic about hiding and not bringing up the subject, you're not going to get anywhere with them.
Okay. Someone also mentioned I think that's true. I'm not sure what that applies to, but suddenly we were in many billion of people. It was felt like many years ago, the Mandela effect. I'm not sure what that question was in reference to, but have you got any comments on the Mandela effect?
You would have, you know what? I honestly have not looked at that. So you would have to probably put it as a remote viewing question and then presenting it to me, because I haven't looked at it.
Is this somebody making this comment? Some say reptilians are easy to possess by demons.
Yes. Because they smell the same. honestly.
Do you when
Also,
do you smell them when you?
yeah, they
Oh yeah.
smell like rotting cabbage
Ooh.
and rotten eggs.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
bad. Oh wow. We had a sauerkraut making plant in a small town where I grew up, and oh my God, there was times in the summer that it really smelled awful.
Yeah,
Anyway,
their smell gives away. If you're really in tune to smells, and they don't care about how they smell at all to you, and it's so it's just they don't care. So
wow.
I don't think anything could cover up the smell in the first place.
Someone's commenting that they're also very narcissistic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that's where humans probably got their genetics modified in a way that makes them have those tendencies at
or maybe
times.
they're just not born with a soul.
Is that possible?
I think so. I've run into a couple of them that I don't believe that there's a soul inside. I feel it.
Wow,
I felt it when I was young.
that's
And I still see
interesting.
it. It's more evident now. I mean, when you see it now.
Wow. Let me see what else I got for questions. Somebody's asking, oh, that connection ones. If an alien told us to go with them, how could you tell if they were benevolent or malicious? You should be able to feel their energy, wouldn't you? I don't know.
Because the first thing that you're going to ask yourself, this is the thing. If there's a heavy presence, a heaviness that hangs on you, a heavy of darkness energy with, it feels like they're tricking you. It embraces heaviness, darkness. And when something is of the light, higher dimensions, everything with that, it feels like you're just gliding into something natural, and light is always behind these light beings. There's always light that rays from them, and from inside out. You feel embraced with them, and you feel dark and dingy and smell nasty from the wrong side. So there's a two
Wow.
different perspectives. And not only that, there's an inner strength inside you that tells you that this is part of the light. And then with the darkness, the negative ones, you have to sit there and going, I think I'm being manipulated. Where your mind's saying this something's not right, and we don't listen to that, and then we go into the situation. So your
I
instinct,
hate it when I do that.
right?
Yeah, there's been a few times
The
when I had
light
an initial
also,
reaction.
the light beings, and with them, they have a lot of patience. The negative wants you to make a choice right away, right now. Let's push you. Let's get you in this category and do it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's about numbers. Um, and the light is always patient.
Okay. Somebody's asking 5D is just energy, isn't it?
Yes, it is. We are not taking your bodies. We are not taking these flesh, blood, bone process. So what I say is your DNA matters here, but it does not matter up there, because it's all about your soul. It is about the energy that you're walking into, the conscience that you carried here and goes and develops there. The conscience and the light are the most important things. You are a filter of energy. That's what matters. We're not taking the body. We can get a new one.
That's what everybody is. There's
You're all
information
hung
out
up
that,
on the DNA,
well,
DNA, and DNA, and then spirit goes, this is crazy.
what
That
I think,
matters in 3D does not matter 4D, 5D, and up, because we come into elusive state of energy. We can become anything we want into the vessel, because here on this earth we did our work, we did the lessons, then you evolve into a higher being. I don't know anybody here that wants a body up there. I don't know why they would want it.
No, and you can get a perfected one.
I know.
Well, I think the way I see it, as far as, and you can comment on this, as far as DNA is concerned, and I agree that it is something that's important here. And the reason that it's important here is it was gave the spirit the means to be able to drive the body.
Right.
Because we're not our body. I mean, but what the spirit is actually, if we didn't have any spirit in our body would just, you know,
Right.
we'd be
So
dead.
that, I think Creator came with this process. Why are the angels, the fallen angels, held down to a ridiculism? Because they were made in a perfect form of being perfect, and the humans were not. Okay. So what they know and have knowledge in, they knew better. Okay. Humans
Okay.
did not get that knowledge that the angels got. Okay. So we have to work our way up to understanding that.
And they got hoodwinked too.
Yeah.
Heavy duty.
Right. Exactly. So, and that's the thing about this is that's where we're going. You got to completely forget about your body and go into the conscience and the spirit, and that is the most important thing, because that is where you're going to develop, that is where you're going to accept, that is where you're going to grow. If the humans would get off the body, you are not taking the physical vessel with you. When you ascend, what part of that word does it say ascend with the physical body? It says ascend.
Well, people,
Ascending.
there's information out there, Jenny, that I know. I know you just take all your information is from spirit, but there's written and video information out there telling people that they are taking this body with them. They're going in this body. So
See, and I
that's
have a
where it's
perfect
coming.
example for
That's
that.
where it's coming from.
So
Right.
even when you do meditation, you're not taking your physical body. When you go into the higher dimensions, when you do higher meditation or humble healing, you're not taking your body. It's impossible. So how they think that can happen, it's because as your body ascends, say your soul travels, it comes back into the body. The first thing that my clients recognize is the weight of the body and the soul together again, because it limits as soon as your soul goes back into the body. When you are out of the body, you are limitless. You can go anywhere. You are capable because you are moving with the conscience of energy, period. Limitless. And that's when spirits pass on, that's what they understand too. They're limitless. They can go anywhere they want. They don't need the body of the shell. That is another program that ties the soul back into the body and binds the things up again. So they're like, mm-mm.
Okay,
I'll
that makes
debate
sense.
that a long time. I would love for anybody to come up and talk about that, because
Let me see. Maybe I'll see if I
that
can
is
find somebody and we
ascending
can have a
has
show
to
on
do,
that.
yeah, ascending has to do with conscience and your spirit. You are not taking the physical vessel with you,
Okay.
because every time
I'm
that
going
anybody ascends and they come back down, they're like, I don't want to be here, because you're in your physical body again,
with all its limitations.
right?
And the skin changes that happen as you get older. I hate it. It's just
Right.
one of the many things. Anyway, on a lighter note, now the twitching explains a lot. Roger Stone interviewed that general, and Yutsava said that he had been executed. I saw him first, and that's not him. And then there was a lot of twitching going on. Can you comment on that?
Yes, they twitch. I mean, they cannot stay. They're moving, they're pacing. You would think that they're on drugs. So
So,
maybe a lot of,
so there was a replacement there, basically.
yeah. So because it's they don't, you can tell they're not comfortable in the skin. They're not acting like a normal human. They feel like they are directed to do something but they can't, there's no eye contact. They really avoid eye contact and they twitch, like they are very uncomfortable. You never see them go to the bathroom either.
Oh, what a blessing. No.
I'm just telling you.
Wow. Wow,
So,
that's
and
interesting.
then the biggest thing is the smell. The smell is
Oh,
putrid.
you meant when it's a
Reptilian. It
reptilian? Yeah.
smells like cabbage, rotten cabbage.
Wow. What about don't they have now they also have, I mean, sometimes we're looking at CGI, but they also have Android type robotics. I mean, where it looks like it's a regular human and it's basically a robot. I mean,
Right.
we think of robots like from the old
But that's a
shows.
program. And if you look at the synthetics, their skin and how it looks in it, there's no flesh color configuration on them at all. There's one pigmentation. And that's a Joe Biden situation.
Oh wow. Okay,
So
here's
so yeah, I mean it's if you're looking at detail, you're gonna look at it and match the criteria up with it, and then again, sensing that there's no soul there. That's your number one.
and that and people can recognize that or should be able to recognize it even if they don't have the skills that you have, just by if they listen to their initial gut and reaction to, because sometimes our mind will talk us out of what our initial
And then you stay in right
intuitive
brain
feelings.
and push out left brain because left brain is, I don't know, maybe not, I don't think so. So
Yeah,
you
that's
definitely
what
want
I'm
to be in the
getting at.
right brain process on that. Because that instinct is telling you, alert, something's wrong. This doesn't look right. And then you got that human
Danger,
side.
Will Robinson. Danger, Will Robinson.
Right.
Anyway, someone's also asking, do you feel we made it to the highest possible timeline available to humanity at this time?
Not yet.
Oh. Oh, okay.
So we're talking in levels. So are you talking about humans being in that timeline? Are you talking about aliens being in a timeline? So when you say timeline, is this planet ascended into that timeline? No, not yet.
Okay. Let's see what else we got here. People are asking questions now. That's good. Okay, Jenny, do you feel we made it to, oh, sorry, that's the same one. I thought okay, what's this one? Why are we still here? Why have we not left for home yet?
What I do know about that, I have to tell you that, and this was channeled and then I got it verified through another source because I listened to his information first before I tell him what I've heard. And I said, and they told me, because to do mediumship, to remote view, to pick up any other beings, it's easy, it's fast, it's quick, and they're like, everybody is here from the past that was here to witness things. They're coming back. They're digging up the items that needed to be digged up from the ground. They're taking those items off this planet. So I want you to understand this. When everything is put back where it's supposed to be, when all these items are retrieved the way they're supposed to be, the next process would be the golden city to arise from the center of the earth, which we're going into the golden ages. So
Where will that arrive at, Jenny? Do you know? Is there a
well, yeah,
location?
they've told me. And people are like, because they told me a long time ago where it would be in California, actually, because the environment there, but it won't be in the city part, it'll be above it. So they've told me many times it'll come
Wow.
out of California. So we're at a stage where things are being shifted, our planet's being shifted, items are being revealed to the surface, and we're at that phase. And you have to be at that phase for them to dig that up. They got to be at a phase that everything is feels safe around the environment. Okay, so you would think, what is the next thing after getting rid of everything? What would you think that be? Starting to ascend. What else is there to do?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Or wait, oh.
Yeah, in that way. But I mean, what is there left to do after everything that's been hidden is uncovered, is surfaced to the top. Because I told you, like, this planet is a puzzle, and things are going to develop and turn around, and this planet's going to change geographically. Um, Ascending is the biggest process that's going to start happening, but I have to tell you that's already happened. They've already been doing it because people are not noticing or paying attention. The people are disappearing.
Yes, they are. I've
And you can figure it out because no one wants to work, and that's not just part of it because there isn't that many humans here. And the programs are being dismantled, so they don't want to work anymore. I'm just saying the TV's occupying you, but you got to look at your outside environment. Things are changing fast.
Oh, this is funny. I gotta put that. I heard Hillary's staff used to call her smelly pants.
I bet. Rotten crotch.
Oh, oh, disgusting.
Cabbage crawler. Splotchy crab. Sorry.
Yes, Petri dish Zeus. Let's see where we. Oh, there's some babies in this. You see, what? Wait a minute. I'm trying to find another question in some of them. Okay. Mm-hmm.
So, while you're looking for that, one of the things, so I'm teaching remote viewing, and I'm trying to get some remote viewers that are accurate on this information, because eventually in my lifetime, I'm going to step down and get to that process. So I am training them, and I'm accepting students for that program.
For remote viewing?
Mm-hmm.
Are there any prerequisites?
I want a raw mind that hasn't been sabotaged, or they're open to doing new ideas and getting the target and getting out. I don't like waiting for things. I like to get evidence right away. I'm not one of those people that's patient, like the word meditation feels like it takes forever to get to, and I like to zoom in and get up and get out on things. So I like a quick result.
That's efficient.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, somebody's asking, what's the best defense when attacked physically by an evil creeper? Physically.
Identify.
And how do they do that?
Well, the thing is, they lose their composure by you identifying them. Even an evil demon or anything that's negative, because when you call out identify with power and control, they lose their composure because you are not revealing that you might know who they are, but they are feeling uncomfortable because you might have identified them. So it has power in the voice, and it has power in the structure of saying it. And it works very accurately. So even if you had, just say, one of these species, reptilians, like if I went up and said that to them, they would be like, would twitch all over, going, "What? This isn't the program."
Well, you would really scare them because they know you can see them.
Right. And that's
okay.
With me is when I meet people, I literally go inside first. Right, I could see their past, I could see where they've been and what the damage they've been dealing with, and I can go inside and look at it. And that's why when a person's talking, I go right into translating information and seeing stuff. So I'm quiet for a while, and then I'll say something. So.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, somebody now is asking about clones in sports.
There's a lot of them.
I would think so. There was somebody that put a video, it's on my Telegram channel, about NBA players, and they were taking note of how so many of them had the exact same movements And they had
Well, they
video. They
sign,
clips of it and used.
Hollywood signs contracts, and so do sports athletes.
Yeah.
All I can say about that, and you know where that comes from. So, yes. So, what is your percentage of that? When they're young and they start off, it's not that, it's like grooming them into that level, and then as long as you're obedient and you're to a certain, I would say 50-50 on that.
Wow. Okay.
And you deal with the ego, you deal with the attitude, and then all of a sudden there's a lot of signs in that way. And so, a good athlete is if they lose their empathy.
If they lose their empathy, you know what's happened. Yeah. Somebody's asking about blood types having anything to do with good and evil, and I don't see how. Yeah.
I don't. That's that 3D concept.
Yeah. Makes no sense. Yeah. Don't need. Let's see here. Somebody's. It's confusing. We don't have any reference book. They didn't give us an instruction manual when we came here.
It's a big puzzle. That's the way they like it.
Yeah. Yeah, just like George Carlin. It's a big club and you're not in it. That's a good one though, Jenny. It's a big puzzle.
It is a big puzzle, and you're gonna put the clues together, and it might not be English, it might be all kinds of different languages, and then we might give you keys, then we might give you some information, but you're gonna figure it out. You're on your own. That's the way, basically, what it is like.
Okay. Here's someone else saying, I heard. Doesn't he say I don't know. You've talked to Ismail. Does he say we're taking the body? I haven't seen all of his shows. I've only seen
I don't know if me and him agree on
a couple
the
of
body,
things.
because I am dead set on that, because I asked that, and they're like, and it was really funny because they're like, why would you take flesh, bone, and blood? True.
What are 5D beings made of?
How can I explain this to you? Jellyfish is the first outer shell that you kind of look at, because it's so light and frequency and energy, and I call them the blue coral children. You can see energy flowing through them. So you have to look at it. If you put a jellyfish outer shell, and everything you can see moving through them, and energy behind them is huge, and some of them you can't even get close to by the dimension that they're in. And they can walk into any type of energy. So, but I do know that they all wear these cloaks, and they either have them over or under, and the cloaks are kind of carry seniority, and how they wear them and what they do with them and the tales of it. So it's beautiful. It is beautiful.
Well, what about, so is it the image of this body, or you won't even, like, someone would recognize you or wouldn't?
No hair, nowhere.
No hair, nowhere. Oh, okay. All this trouble growing
No hair.
By the way, I get asked if this is a wig, and it's not a wig.
Right.
But anyway, here's another question. What who's to say our body doesn't transmute into a 5 plasma light body?
Our body?
I would assume that's what I mean. Can't do that in 3D. Yeah.
No.
Okay, here's another one. What are your thoughts on David Wilcock?
That mind is confusing. I don't trust him.
Thank you. That's my take on him too.
I think he's too easy to manipulate.
Okay. So Jay Thought asked kind of what I was at. Am I taking the image of my physical body? I mean, so I guess people are worried. Well, how would the people I know even know that it was me? You learn to read energy.
It's energy. Everybody thinks you're talking in a verbal and you're not. Even when I do humble healing with animals and that I see up there, everything is a thought. It's a process. So it's the same thing as your relatives know when you're thinking about them when they're passed on. It's seconds. It's seconds. It's not the thing that humans need to get out of is the long process for everything. The long distance, the long way to learn things. That education is going to be what they showed me with education for children. They call the blue coil children. Those are going to be masterminds, in the universe. So I'm going to give you an example for our education system with a new program that's coming in. The humans are not teaching. That for a 5-year-old can have that concept of probably a 10th grader in 5 years. Okay, but massive education and understanding the mind, how it works, and how it holds information. So we're going to be using our brain bigger. That process of your conscience is going to work in a different way of using it in that concept.
So what was the purpose of all this upgrading of the 3D DNA then? Or the junk DNA, that kind of thing? None of that stuff matters now. Is that what
Nope.
you're
And
saying?
it's like when they get annoyed sometimes, and then like, why are we talking about this? Because this is not a concept. This is a 3D view. This is a program. It's
and,
not mattering.
and people have been repeatedly programmed with it over and over and over again.
The only way they showed me DNA to go, if we had DNA that was a specific program of DNA, it would be binded by gold energy. I'm like, okay. So they would insist that into a gold barrier, and the DNA would be in this bigger capacity of just say a coil around the DNA. That's the way I can explain. So that God energy, okay? If I had to explain that to you with DNA, so if you are in the concept of DNA, just imagine your DNA turning into a golden DNA. If you had to go into 5D, if you wanted to look at that concept of that.
Interesting. That's a nice way of putting it. Okay. This is just a commentary. IP claims he was created. Oh, that was Ismail. Was created in a petri dish, so he has God's spark in which he has.
Who has
He
God's
has no
spark?
soul. I'm not sure on this question or this comment because IP, I assume, was Ismail Perez, claims he was created in a petri dish, so he has God's spark in which he has no soul. That doesn't make sense because the God spark would be having a soul, I would think. But maybe I'm not understanding.
What I know about him is he downloads information pretty fast. So he's got the download that comes down into the conscience fast. I haven't looked at his.
Very fast, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, some people, I don't know. Some people think he's very android-like and so on and so forth. So,
Well, they're trying to, to put it in a category that they've seen, and that's the best reference. But it's not that way. It's just a faster speed of information that downloads into his concept.
what makes his consciousness able to accept it more so than others?
Well, you could, because it's just a process that he is better at, just like I'm better at remote viewing than most.
Okay.
Because it's just a higher understanding, and it pulls it in, and it downloads faster. That's all it is. It's just some things are. I always tell, thinking, when they seated me here, did they just go, "Ooh, that's a little bit too much"? You know what I mean? So, so that's the way I can look at it. It's just sometimes we're a little bit more sensitive. on information.
Well, I can let people know that this week on, I think it's Friday. Yes, Friday the 13th. I'm having a show with Ishmael, so we'll talk about things then as well. Maybe
If
I'll
they
bring
really
this
want to
up.
understand the way his brain works, think of the movie Transformers, where the kids in the classroom and all this stuff is sitting in his brain and coming out fast. That's how I see Ismail.
Okay.
So
It's not you. I don't want to say that on here. I'll ask you later. Okay. Let's this one here. Oh, well, no, we had that one already. Sorry. I'm just scrolling through the questions right now. Here's one. Yes, people are disappearing. Why are people disappearing? You might want to answer that question.
Yeah, well, it's because they've decided that they may not be part of 5D and they have to go to a different planet.
Here's one too. Life behind her eyes. Yes, people are disappearing. Why oh, go back to source. So they could be going to another planet. That doesn't mean that
they're just I look at 4D as a big bus station of transformation. You don't know what universe you're going to get off on. You don't know what ticket you got. You don't know what contract you have. Most of them don't. Some do. And it's a big transformation stage of information, and you'll make a decision when you get there. Okay. On some of them, and then some of them, like Spirit told me, that we're going to deal with 3 levels of conscience here, and they always told me that the lower level is never going to go.
The 2D, what? Okay, when I gave the percentages before, so
what
the
I'm
2-day won't go.
There was always a percentage of a low conscience that was never meant to leave. It was never going to go anywhere except 3D. And then I would look at more. There's 4 levels, and then you have those 3D people. And then, there's the mid-level that has done their work, has inspired to do their contract, wake up people. And then you have the upper conscience that's always been in it, always has the memory of where they came from, always knew their path. But there is a lower level of conscience people that were never going to make it.
Okay. Are they kind of like the Agent Smiths?
It's just hard to put any idea in them, or even they can't even function in life.
Now this is oh, wait a minute. Maybe you might want to answer that question. Is there going to be a pole shift and massive earth changes? I mean, some of that's, we're having
pole shift would be, I would call it this puzzle shifting. So it is a pole shift. It's a shift that's coming. Because when I ever get that picture done of the puzzle, then you'll understand North Pole, South Pole, how things are going to be in place and shift around. So it is in that way, but it'll change.
How about this one here? I always feel and see in my mind's eye someone watching me in my own home. What's this about?
Well, that's probably a door of their vision that's starting to open, but they're not trusting it. So sometimes Spirit does is they present something to see if you accept it or take it or understand it. So you're being tested. Yeah. Okay. You're being tested.
Wow. Let's see. I saw that question. Okay. Where's the humans going? Where are the humans going?
Where are the humans going? That depends on the level that they're at.
Okay.
So they could, It depends on their conscience. That depends on what they did here. It depends on how much they gave to humanity and the way their path has been given to them. It depends on if they've learned anything. It depends on if they are in ego or they're in their own self. It depends.
Somebody's asking it when God spoke out loud to me, why was his voice robotic? That would be a
Because that
red
sometimes
flag.
it's like you're looking in dimensions. You're hearing vibration in dimensions, and it's like a hallway at the end. And then where your conscience and your concept is, and that's how that vibration comes in. Um, because it's not in a human form, we don't think it's good. But I hear a lot of those different tones, vibrations, forms, and I'm not afraid of them. I can hear you. I can't hear you. Mm-mm.
No sound, Gail.
Yeah, there's no sound.
Oh, wait a minute.
Okay, there
That's
you
why.
go. Okay.
Silly me. I had myself muted. And I'm looking all over for why. Okay, where did I leave off? Well, let's just move on. The bank-in thing, I don't know what that is.
I just wanted to, can I just add in something a little funny?
Sure.
Somebody
good.
somebody keeps telling us that Jenny's dog needs to go out. And I said, well, that's funny. He's probably saying, can't you hear me?
No, what he's saying is, can I have some more food? Can I have some
Oh,
food?
he's hungry. Okay. I just thought that was funny.
Yeah, he wants to go out where the food is.
Oh, I get it. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So are some of us in 4D now, like some people are saying?
Yeah, it has to do with your conscience. It has to do with your view. If you want to look at 3D, you're going to see the view. If you want to look at 4D, you can see that view too. And that's what I teach. I teach them to look at the 4D. I mean, you can glimpse in and look in 3D, go, oh, I don't want that. But 4D, people are diving into that. Their conscience is in that, developing in that, working with that. It's already here.
Okay. Here we're back to this. Can the body become crystalline
Yes.
and not be as dense as the carbon?
It can be crystalline. The pineal gland is crystalline. So when we get to the higher dimensions, where I see the overcreators, there's crystal cities, all of that stuff. And then, how do I explain this? How energy works, and I see them inside them in some crystalline processing process. It's hard to explain that. I'm going to have to draw it. But yes, it's inside you.
I think
and that's where I think we go with where I'm talking about not having to have food anymore. And I think that's part of that process too, when we get into that. So if you had let's just say, for instance, a crystal like this, and something that plugs you in, and it forever keeps you with energy instead of eating. And I saw a med bed that does that too, that you don't need it. You don't need any more food. And I can't wait for that process. So, you're going to learn what your spirit can do. It's not what your body can do. It's what your spirit can do and your conscience can do and what it can live off of.
Interesting. And it'll be a little different for everybody, really? Yes? No? Yes. Okay. Somebody said, when you said the part about being hairless, somebody said they would save on shaving.
Yeah, I know, right? I would probably laugh if I saw a Barbie alien or any I think that would be a joke with them, because they laugh at humans, how they're so involved in their looks.
Oh yeah, we're very appearance-oriented society.
Yeah,
you get judged heavily on that. It's not right, but it's what happens. Still looking. I like my hair on my head, MH too. MH says she likes hair on her head. I do too.
You don't have to worry about no bad hair days anymore.
That's another way of looking at it. Well, we got some people, and some of them are spiritual workers who are shaving their heads, and I'm going, oh wow, okay. I'm not ready for that. Let's see. What about soul fragments? Can you elaborate on that a little bit? And they talk about getting whole again and getting your fragments or whatever. Can you elaborate on that at all?
Okay, read the question again. I claim he has frag.
Okay, wait a minute. Wait a minute. IP claims he has a fragmented soul in different bodies, but that wasn't the question that I wanted to ask. What I wanted to ask is, you hear a lot of people out there talking about soul fragments and that we're not whole, because of past traumas. Maybe they're in this lifetime or past lifetimes or whatever, and it was so traumatic for our soul that we have soul fragments. I don't know.
Well, I would call it as your higher self. And when your higher self is in one place, and then you have these, say, 20 different fragments of yourself in several places. Do you understand? In several universes. That's what they've described it to me.
Multidimensional.
Yes, and that's where the diamond comes in. I described about the diamond, because the diamond is part of your higher conscience. There's this one crystalline diamond it's connected to the creator. And then you have these fragments of these different experiences that you go through, and all that kind of has these sparks of knowledge, but it doesn't always come clear in. So yeah, I understand that, but it's like each one of those have like this amnesia type of energy, and you're like, I can't remember this, but just a little portion of this. And that's where when we go back into our higher conscience, as one, all those memories are going to come back.
They are. So people will
Yes.
know about past lifetimes and
Right.
and all of that, and where they've been and what experiences they've had, and so on and so forth.
Right.
Is that true? Okay. The next question here is, when we ascend, how does our relationship with our children change?
I don't think it's as confusing. The thing is as humans, we need to understand we're going to come together as a community of energy. So it's not you having to thinking you're on your own as a community.
But this isn't the same as a hive mind, or is it?
A what? A
hive mind, they call it.
Hive. No.
That's no. Okay. Was there more to that? I didn't mean to.
No, I lost the thought. I mean, when you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. When we ascend, how does our relationship with our children change? And I'll shut up, okay?
Okay, so our relationship with our children change. It's just a knowing. It's a particle of them that you are a particle of each other, but there's no fear. It's a consistence of energy. But we're not in that human concept of problems. We're in the concept of light, frequency, and energy, and you share that with them. Just like sharing energy with them. But there's no fear.
Let me see. Yeah, this one. Okay. Have you ever tried making clouds disappear with your will? That's a real thing.
No, I haven't tried that. I guess I don't have time.
Yeah. Are there any? Yeah, because you got to concentrate and focus, right? Are there any other phenomenon or tricks that we're capable of?
As humans?
Yeah, I guess that's what I assume.
I mean, is there any tricks?
Tricks.
To
what do you mean
walk
by tricks?
Through 3D and watch it burn to the ground and be grateful for that, because then means 4D is right behind it. So if you can walk in power and understand that everything needs to be dismantled in this realm, and you're smiling through it, then you are in the place you need to be.
So staying upbeat and happy and being in joy does a lot.
Right, it does.
Let's see.
So
all right, well, we're headed on. We're in at 1 hour and 40 minutes. I like to stop before 2 hours, so maybe we can wind this up, because I wasn't able to get Odyssey to work today, so I'll have to upload it to that later. But anyway,
yeah, if they have any more questions, they can contact me through the website, and they're interested in remote viewing, they can contact me through there too.
And we will be doing this again sometime, and we'll
Yes,
ask.
we will.
Okay, so because there was one more good question, can we handle one more real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, this one was about bilocating. How will we perceive bilocating?
I don't know what bilocating is.
It's like being in two places at one time, I think. Maybe they'd have to explain. Maybe that wasn't such a good question.
Yeah, I haven't heard that phase of bilocating.
Okay.
So if they're talking about locating another soul in the universe, it's very instinctive. It's in milliseconds.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to let you go. And this has been a great show. And thank you so much for your time and energy. And we'll be back again. And we'll just let you know when.
Okay. You guys have a good night.
All righty. Hang on. Let me find my. Okay. Thank you, everyone. We love you. Free range. Be part of our soul family. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And thank you, Jenny.
You're welcome.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
We have found our way. It's a brand new day, and we'll be making history. Are you with me? Won't you stay? We have come so far. This is who we are, and like the rising sun, we have just begun to play our part. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on one another. Feel the pride, let's show our colors. We are heroes and dreamers. We are restless believers, stronger than ever. Never say never. Don't look back now, don't look back now. Rise up, stand with each other. We are sisters and brothers, finding our place and running the race. We'll take our chance and seize the moment. Hold on tight and don't let go of all your hopes and dreams that light the way. We control our fate. Destiny awaits. We are all the actors in the stories we create. Hope will be our guide. We'll no longer hide. When we roll like thunder, feel the wonder from inside. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on one another. Feel the pride, let's show our colors.